At 6 a.m. on the 45th floor, Sarah Jenkins, 28, black, quietly emptied a trash bin, invisible to the executives whose livelihoods and secrets passed right in front of her. The pre-dawn quiet of Thorne Industries was her element. The air in the executive suite smelled of industrial carpet cleaner and the faint, expensive aroma of coffee brewing in the executive lounge. Sarah was meticulous, wiping down surfaces that already gleamed, her movements practiced and economical. She wore her standard-issue Navy uniform with a dignity that belied her role. She paused her cart near Evelyn Reed's 40s white office. Evelyn, already in a sharp suit and clutching a venti skinny latte like a scepter, was at the shredder, feeding in a thick stack of papers. The high-pitched whine of the machine was the only sound. Sarah paused her wiping, and her eyes caught a header on the top sheet just before it was devoured: Minority Vendor Reviews. Evelyn saw her looking and glared, her eyes cold. "Mind your own business." Sarah just nodded, her face impassive, and continued her work, pushing her cart toward Evelyn's open doorway. Evelyn was now on the phone, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I don't care what the diversity quota says," she snapped into her headset. "I won't have those types lingering in the executive lounge. It looks unprofessional." As she spoke, she glanced directly at Sarah, her gaze passing over her as if she were a piece of furniture. Sarah felt the familiar sting but kept her expression neutral. She glanced at her own phone, hidden in her apron pocket. A text alert glowed on the screen, a reminder of her mother's pending medical bill. This was why she endured. She had her degree, but this job paid for the care her mother needed. She recognized the document title Evelyn was shredding. She had handled similar vendor files during her college internship, back before she'd had to drop out. Later, Sarah moved into the main boardroom to polish the massive mahogany table. Evelyn strode in, her heels clicking aggressively. "Stick to the service hallways, Sarah," she snapped. "The partners are arriving. We need this floor to look pristine." The implication was clear. Sarah was not part of the pristine look. This was the sharp, public rebuke. Sarah just nodded calmly. "Yes, Ms. Reed." Her eyes, however, held a deep, controlled intelligence that Evelyn, in her arrogance, mistook for simple submission. Sarah pushes her card into the supply closet. Tucked beneath the cleaning rags is a worn copy of Advanced Mandarin Linguistics. Sarah may be invisible to Evelyn, but we see her potential. If you're still watching and you caught that crucial detail with the textbook, let us know you're here by commenting with the number 8 below. It tells us you're a true observer, paying close attention to the story. And if you believe in shedding light on hidden brilliance, please subscribe to Black Brilliance and turn on the bell so you never miss the moment when true talent is revealed. Your support helps us continue to create powerful content that informs and inspires. Now, let's continue to. My God, how can this be happening now? The voice of CEO Marcus Thorne, 50s, white, boomed from the glass office, shattering the 8:45 a.m. small talk about the previous night's Yankees game. Sarah, cleaning the hallway nearby, heard the panic. This was the $200 million Chinese delegation meeting she had heard whispered about all morning. Mr. Thorne slammed his office phone down. The translator just canceled. "A family emergency," he roared. He turned to Evelyn, who had just walked in. "Get me another one. Get me anyone." Thorne paced his corner office, loosening his $300 Italian tie. He looked out the massive windows at the 3 black sedans pulling up to the building entrance, 45 floors below. "They're here," he said, his voice strained. Sarah could see the color drain from his face. Evelyn was on her own phone, calling agencies, her usual composure cracking. "No one is available," she said, her voice strained. "Not for this level of negotiation, not on such short notice." Mr. Thorne looked at the delegation stepping out of the cars. $200 million, Evelyn. $200 million. He sank into his leather chair, defeated. He stared out the window, lost in thought. He'd built this company for 30 years. He wouldn't lose it over a single phone call. The room was silent save for the hum of the air conditioning. The deal was dead. From the doorway, a soft, steady voice speaks. "Excuse me, Mr. Thorne, but I speak fluent Mandarin." Every executive in the vicinity, including Marcus Thorne and a stunned Evelyn Reed, turned to see Sarah Jenkins standing in the doorway, her cleaning cloth still in hand. Evelyn recovered first, letting out a sharp, nervous laugh. "Sarah, this isn't the time for jokes. Go back to your duties," she snapped. The humiliation in Evelyn's voice was palpable. Her authority was being bypassed in front of the CEO. Mr. Thorne studied Sarah, his desperation warring with his skepticism. "You speak Mandarin?" "Mandarin, Cantonese, and some Taiwanese," Sarah replied calmly, her voice steady. "I studied Oriental linguistics at Howard University before my mother got sick." The thought of her mother and the medical bills strengthened her resolve. She was doing this despite Evelyn, not for her. "David, you can't be serious." "A janitor," Evelyn hissed. Thorne ignored her. His eyes were locked on Sarah. "Prove it," he said abruptly. Sarah took a centered breath. She then spoke several sentences in perfect, formal Mandarin. It was a respectful business greeting, acknowledging the importance of the partnership and the honor of the meeting. The words were foreign to Thorne, but he didn't need a translation. He recognized the flawless fluency and quiet authority in her tone. He stood up, overriding Evelyn's shocked and furious expression. "You have 10 minutes, he said to Sarah. "Go put on something appropriate. Meet me in the conference room." Sarah rushed out, her heart pounding. What was appropriate? She didn't have a suit. She hurried to the reception area, unsure what to do. Jenny, the receptionist, saw her panic. "Ms. Jenkins here," Jenny whispered, pulling a simple black blazer from her locker. "You found my car keys last week when you were cleaning. It's the least I can do." Sarah quickly pulled it on over her uniform shirt, her transformation immediate and professional. As Sarah, transformed and professional, walks toward the boardroom, Evelyn whispers furiously to Thorne, "You've completely lost your mind. When this backfires, it will be the end of your career." Sarah, wearing that borrowed blazer, is walking into the lion's den while Evelyn's threat echoes in the hallway. This is the moment of truth. If you are still watching and you felt the tension in that moment, let us know you're here by commenting with the number 8 below. And if you believe this is a story that needs to be told, please subscribe to Black Brilliance and turn on the notification bell. You do not want to miss what happens when Sarah opens her mouth in that boardroom. Your support helps us continue to create powerful content that inspires and shines a light on hidden talent. Now, let's continue to. 20 minutes later, Sarah Jenkins re-entered the 45th floor, not as a janitor, but as a professional, her hair pulled back and wearing the receptionist's simple black blazer. Evelyn Reed's warning to Thorne about it being the end of his career still hung in the air. Evelyn watched Sarah enter, her eyes narrowing with a look that was not just skepticism, but malice. They entered the main executive boardroom. The atmosphere was incredibly tense. The Chinese delegation, led by Mr. Li, sat formally on one side of the massive, polished mahogany table. Mr. Li, polite and analytical, noted Evelyn Reed sitting slightly back from the table, her untouched ventilator steaming, a subtle sign of disrespect. Mr. Thorne cleared his throat, his stress palpable. "This is Ms. Sarah Jenkins," he said, introducing her vaguely. "She will be our international relations specialist for this meeting." Evelyn smirked at the impromptu title. Mr. Li greeted Sarah with a formal opening in Mandarin. Sarah responded perfectly, her tone respectful, not just translating the words, but adding the correct cultural honorifics and nuance that showed deep understanding. Mr. Li's eyes lit up with genuine surprise and approval. For the next 15 minutes, the meeting flowed perfectly. Sarah was brilliant. She navigated complex technical terms and financial projections, translating both languages with surgical precision. Mr. Thorne was visibly relaxing. The $200 million deal was being saved. Seeing the deal succeeding, Evelyn interrupted, her voice dripping with a fake, venomous sweetness. "Mr. Li," she said, her smile sharp. "You must be so impressed. It's just so inspiring." Thorne shot her a warning glare, but Evelyn continued. "Who would have thought that someone who was cleaning these very rooms just 30 minutes ago would be sitting at this table today? It truly shows how our company values diversity in all its forms." The room freezes. The Chinese delegation's polite smiles vanish. Mr. Li looks from Evelyn to Sarah, his face hardening with confusion and offense at the public humiliation. 2 hours after the disastrous meeting, Sarah was back in her navy blue uniform, the borrowed blazer neatly folded, pushing her cleaning cart through the now quiet executive hallways. The meeting had ended with a tentative preliminary agreement, diplomatic code for a failure. Sarah's movements were automatic. Her mind was not on the smudges on the glass, but on the minority vendor reviews document she saw Evelyn shred that morning. She passed Evelyn, who was in the hallway talking loudly to another executive, her arrogance restored. "Look who's back where she belongs," Evelyn said, loud enough for Sarah to hear. David actually thought that could save a $200 million deal. It was pathetic. Sarah continued pushing her cart, rounded the corner, and ducked into the supply closet. Her phone vibrated. She checked it. It was a text from an unknown number, written in precise Chinese characters. "Ms. Jenkins, I would like to talk to you privately. Your composure under pressure was valuable. I have a proposal." That night, in her small, clean Brooklyn apartment, Sarah opened a password-protected file on her laptop. It wasn't 3 years of evidence. It was 18 months. It started right after she saw Evelyn shredding those vendor documents. Trusting her gut, she had begun observing. She saved drafts of emails she found left open on unattended screens. She recovered key documents from the printer tray that Evelyn forgot. She made audio notes on her phone of racist comments Evelyn made when she thought only the help was listening. The next morning, Sarah met Mr. Lee at a quiet downtown diner, the smell of coffee and bacon hanging in the air. He was respectful. "Our company is also investigating discrepancies in Thorne's contracts," he said quietly. "We believe Ms. Reed is problematic. We would like to offer you a consulting job to help us navigate this." As they part ways, Mr. Lee mentions, "Our formal complaint about the irregularities has triggered an emergency board meeting at Thorne Industries this morning. It might be worth your while to attend." The emergency board meeting was buzzing with tension when the door opened silently, and Sarah Jenkins entered, wearing an impeccable gray suit she had bought the night before. Evelyn's taunt from yesterday, "back where she belongs," echoed in her mind, a stark contrast to where she stood now. Evelyn Reed was already at the table, confidently shuffling her papers, ready to blame the incompetent janitor for the $200 million loss. "David, why is she here?" Evelyn scoffed, her voice laced with irritation. "The Chinese delegation specifically requested her presence," Mr. Thorne replied coldly, his face grim. Evelyn began her defense, launching into a prepared speech about the risks of using unqualified personnel. Sarah quietly interrupted. "Evelyn," she asked softly, "what kind of evidence could a cleaning lady have?" She walked to the head of the table and connected her laptop to the projector. "The kind you gather when you're invisible for 3 years," Sarah said, her voice filling the room, "and people talk as if you don't exist." The first slide appeared, an email draft, recovered from Evelyn's trash bin, detailing how to rig bids against a competitor. The next slide, a spreadsheet Sarah had found left at the printer, showing deliberately inflated costs for projects led by minority employees. Finally, Sarah played an audio file. It was a security system recording from the reception desk. Evelyn's voice was unmistakable, instructing the receptionist to lose resumes with ethnic-sounding names. The boardroom was silent. Mr. Johnson, an older black man on the board, looked at Evelyn with utter disgust. Mr. Thorne stood up, his face stony. "Evelyn," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "You have 30 seconds to explain why you shouldn't be fired for cause and reported to the district attorney." Evelyn's face was pale, her arrogance shattered. She stammered, That's out of context. You can't." Thorne signaled to security at the door. As they escorted a pale, shaking Evelyn out of the room, Thorne turned to Sarah. "Ms. Jenkins, it seems we have an opening for Director of International Relations. And you, Evelyn," he called after her, "are fired." Sarah Jenkins' journey from the executive hallways to the boardroom reminds us that true brilliance is often found where we least expect it. When we stop judging others by their appearance, we open the door to true compassion and potential. Like a quiet light in the window, a simple act of dignity, given without expectation of reward, can illuminate the darkest paths. If this story of justice and resilience touched your heart, We invite you to share your thoughts and join the Black Brilliance community by subscribing for more stories that uplift and inspire.